Okay, today is lesson 31, and we're talking about pairs of lines and angles. Geometry is one of my favorite things to teach. I love geometry because it deals with the shapes, angles, it deals with a lot of area, volume, things like that. So I'm excited. It's a short lesson, but it's something that really makes me happy. I love geometry. Super fun. Okay, when we look at all of these types of lines, these are all called pairs of lines. So you'll notice that there are two in each set. It says when two straight lines are drawn on the same flat surface, they either cross at some point or they'll never cross. Lines that never ever cross each other are called what? Parallel. Yeah, they're parallel lines. So they're like train tracks. It can go any direction. They can go diagonal, they can go horizontal or vertical, but they will never ever crisscross. If the lines crisscrossed and I had a train on the track, what would happen? It would crash, right? Their wheels couldn't stay on the rail. They have to be the same distance apart all the way so that the wheels can keep going. Yes?
I know.
Hold on, guys. I have one hand.
I know it's parallel because two L's.
And then also in the word parallel, you see two lines, the two L's, that are parallel to each other. Very good. Lines that cross, no matter where they cross, they are called intersecting lines. There are two different types of intersecting lines. First, you have perpendicular. Okay, so there are two types of intersecting lines. One is perpendicular. Perpendicular lines are where they intersect and they form a right angle. So when you look right here, these are an example of perpendicular lines. The other types of intersecting lines are just oblique lines. They're just randomly crossing lines. So they don't have to make any certain type of angles. They're just going to crisscross with each other, and they're not going to be right angles. The only time they have a special name like perpendicular is if they form right angles. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Which of the following figures does not appear to contain perpendicular line segments? So which one of these?
C.
Y'all all say it.
C.
C. Okay, now raise your hand and tell me why C is not perpendicular. Okay.
C is an acute angle and it doesn't have lines that are behind it.
Okay, so there's not a line that goes behind it, but what if I drew in those lines? What if I went ahead and just continued this line like this?
Then it would be obsolete or whatever you said. It's acute and
What oblique, right? They're oblique lines. They intersect, but they don't create that. What type of angle does right angles? Right is right. Okay. All right. When line segments intersect, angles are formed. Every time. It doesn't matter how they intersect, angles are going to be formed anytime you intersect two lines. An angle is an opening. It's like the space between the intersecting lines. Okay, and lines, if you look at each one of these are like rays because they have a common end point right here. So they can be intersecting lines. They can be rays, just like this one that I just made into two rays. Do y'all know what a ray is?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a line and a ray? Raise your hand.
A line goes on forever in each ways. A ray goes on forever in one way.
Very good. So a ray goes on forever in one direction, one way. It has an ending point. So sometimes an angle can be made up of two rays, just like this one, where I have the ending point here, and then it goes on forever in this direction, and this one goes on forever in this direction. Sometimes an angle can be formed by intersecting lines like this, okay, like what we've seen. So it just depends. It can also be segments. What is a line segment? Anybody know the difference between a line segment and a regular line?
A line segment stops, but a line can keep going.
Okay, what do you mean? A line segment? Because this one right here, the one with the red, those stop.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by it stops? Because you're right, but what do you mean?
Because they have a point, and that
Okay.
go on and on, but it doesn't just stop it.
Okay, so like look at the straight line right there. I put points at the end of each of those lines to make it a line segment. So from the middle to the right is a line segment, and then from the middle to the left is another line segment, okay? We name angles based on the size of their opening. So you guys already know that an acute angle is a cute little angle. It's less than 90. A right angle is exactly how much?
90 degrees.
90 degrees. An obtuse angle is
Fat.
real big, bigger than 90. And it cannot be 180. Once it hits 180 degrees, what is its name? Straight angle. Very good.
Isn't it a 360 was two straight?
When it goes all the way in a complete circle. Okay, which of these angles appears to be a right angle? Everybody. B. Very good. And if you look at it, and I were to draw a little box in the corner, it does form a perfect square. Yeah. Okay. Question, raise your hand. What type of angle is A? If it's not a right angle, Jeremy, what is it? It is obtuse. Very good. Raise your hand and tell me what kind of angle is C, Kaden. A cute little angle. And Otto, what is D? It is obtuse. Very good. Did y'all feel okay with angles and lines? Okay. Your lesson today is going to start on 212 through 214. You're only doing the written practice 1 through 30.